Hello everybody and welcome back. So in the previous video we included all of these libraries that we are going to need certain functions from in our program, and right now we are ready to start our Windows main function. So as we said previously, our main function is going to accept, or in our case, in the backdoor case, it is going to connect to our server that we are going to run on our Kali Linux machine. So we need to create the connect function in our Windows main function, and then we can perform all the other tasks. So right now, let us start off with defining our function. So first of all, in C, the function is defined with the simple name and then the two brackets. So our function name is going to be win and then main. Okay. So right now I'm going to zoom this in so you can see even a little bit better. We are going to name our function, as I said, Windows main, and we also need to define what type of function is our main function. In this case, we're going to make our function to return an integer, and it is going to also be an API entry function. Okay, so the reason why we are specifying these options for our Windows main function is because since we are coding a Windows program, every Windows program includes an entry point function that is named something like Windows main. It also needs to create an API entry so we can have access to different functions that we're going to use through our program. Now this function also takes a couple of parameters that we need to define between these two brackets, and those parameters are h instance and then smaller h and then capital I instance, comma, h instance, again capital letters, and then h prev, comma, lpstr, and then lpcmd line, and then the last parameter is going to be integer value, and then ncmd show. Now basically h instance represents or is a handle to an instance or a handle to a module. Now the operating system uses this value to identify the executable when it is loaded in memory. And also the instance handle is needed for some Windows functions. Now the hprev right here that we typed as a second parameter, it really has no real meaning. It was used in 16-bit Windows, but now it is always 0. The CMD line contains the command line arguments such as a Unicode string. And the last parameter that we specified right here, which is the ncmd show, that is simply just a flag that says whether the main application window will be minimized, maximized, or shown normally. And that is basically the first thing that we need to do in our function. But before we start coding the actual function code, we need to open up these curly brackets right here, and everything that is inside those curly brackets will belong to our main function. Okay? So, since we're coding an actual program that is going to belong to this function, we're going to tab it once so we know that it belongs to Windows main function, and so it looks better. The first thing that we want to do is we actually want to minimize our program, or in our case we want to make it invisible as it runs. So we're going to use this ncmd show variable to actually minimize our program and to also make the console not appear during the running of our program, which is essential once you're creating a virus, a backdoor, a malware for ethical hacking. You don't want your actual target to notice that you ran something on their PC. You'd want them to actually execute your program and nothing to be shown, so they just simply think the program doesn't work. That is the goal. So how we're going to accomplish that? Well, simply we're going to create a stealth handle. So in order to do that, we need to specify it like this, hwnd, and then we're going to call it stealth. And right here we are creating a handle to a window. With the help of this, we're going to make our window not visible to the target. After it, we need to call the allocate console function, and we call it like this. We simply specify the name, then we open normal brackets, and at the end we need to specify dot and comma to mark the end of the line. Now this will allocate a new console to the calling process, and this function takes no parameters. That's why it simply just has open and close brackets. Now that we defined our stealth variable right here, we're going to call a function to it, and that function is going to be find window A. This function takes two parameters. The first one is console window class, and the second one is going to be null. Now on our stealth, we will perform this function. It is an actual function from the WinUser.h header, I believe, and this function retrieves a handle to the top level window. It takes two arguments. First one is this class name, and the second one is the window name, and the actual window name we defined to be null. Now don't forget to add dot and comma at the end to specify the end of the line. And right here we're going to call a showWindow function. And the reason why we're calling this is because in this line we will specify whether we want to show a window to our program or not. Now, as I mentioned previously, since this is a malware, we don't really want our program to open up anything. We want it to work in background. Therefore, we are going to specify two arguments for this function. The first one is handle to the window. In our case, that is stealth. So simply just specify as a first argument stealth, and then comma, which is going to separate the second argument, which is going to be the actual ncmd show, which is this variable right here. And ncmd show parameter from our function is an integer, as we can see right here, and we will set it to be 0. Now the reason why we're setting it to be 0 is because in this function 0 means hiding the window and activating another window, and that is exactly what we want to perform right here. So with this actual line we finished off with the part of our program where we actually hide the console. Okay? And right now we are ready to create a socket object and to make our backdoor connect to our server. So we're going to perform that in the next video. This is just a small step that we performed right here, but crucial step since we don't want our target to notice anything when running this program. And in the next video, as I said, we're going to connect back to our server. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next lecture. Bye!